Just 60 miles from Los Angeles, Mission San Juan Capistrano is home to one of America's historic treasures, the Great Stone Church. The preservation efforts for this endangered site have revealed many significant discoveries, and now, as work on the latest phase nears completion, yet another treasure comes to light, hidden from view for more than 200 years. Mission Administrator Gerald Miller.
Hello, I'm Jerry Miller, Administrator of Mission San Juan Capistrano, the jewel of the California missions. And we're here this morning in this beautiful Great Stone Church, which is our principal monument here. It was started in 1797 and fell in an earthquake in 1812. We have been attempting to preserve it. We're now down to the last phase of the preservation of the Great Stone Church. And we have now been working on the Vestry dome, the dome that is over the place where the priests would put on their vestments to come out onto the altar. It fell apart when the walls separated in an earthquake in 1812, and the dome just collapsed. But it didn't collapse all the way. So we've got it shored up from the bottom, and we now have been excavating the top, and this is where our great surprises have come. We are amazed at what we have seen.
Preservation Architect John Loomis.
Good morning, my name is John Loomis. I'm the Preservation Architect here at Mission San Juan Capistrano. When we first came to the site, we did an inventory of all the resources on site, and the thing that we saw right off the bat was that the Great Stone Church here was in dire straits of collapse from a number of problems. The landmarks work that was done approximately 100 years ago used railroad rails and steel rods to suspend this particular dome area that we're talking about. And all that has rusted to the point that you could actually break the steel rods with your hand. They were rusted almost down to nothing. Certainly, it's very true that if the Landmarks Club had not done their thing 100 years ago, that we wouldn't have something to fix today. Although we've been working on this project for 14 years, we can only see what we can see from the inside of the room. When we look up, we see a plaster ceiling. We don't know what's behind that ceiling. So when we excavated this fill, about 70,000 pounds worth on top of the dome, we were amazed when we found that the whole ceiling is actually a brick system. There's nothing wrong with using brick in a dome system. We were just surprised because the other domes on site are stone. This is a spectacular find and really becomes a gap filler between the construction of the north wing and the construction of the church here and the rest of the domes. And it really, again, shows I think the ingenuity of the Native Americans and the Padres. So this roof is very unique and the only one of its kind, as far as we know, in the world.
Now we'd like to take you up to the Vestry dome, and we're going to go in above the dome so you'll be able to see all of the things that we've discovered in this unique architectural treatment. Well, that was quite a climb. We're up here on the third level of the Great Stone Church, and we're about to show you the secrets of the space above the Vestry dome and the way that was constructed.
We're now standing on the top of the Vestry dome, and what you see are the actual tops of the bricks that were laid in a series of concentric ovals to make up the dome. Behind me you see a black line, which is actually a roofing compound, and it shows you the depth of the fill that we've removed. So we've removed somewhere around 3 feet of stone rubble on top of this dome, and that's the part that weighed about 70,000 pounds, 35 tons. What you see sticking up with these steel cables are the Landmarks Club works, where they actually use these suspenders and tied to railroad ties that span from parapet to parapet here, and actually suspended this dome. There are huge cracks in this dome that you can actually put your whole hand and arm into, and that is part of the settling process resulting from earthquakes and weather deterioration over time. Standing on this dome, you can imagine what it was like for the Native Americans to build this. And first they had to construct the stone walls actually all the way up to the full height that you see around us. And these walls are made out of sandstone, very large stones, usually in the 400 to 600 pound size, that were actually field stone, collected about 6 miles from here and brought here. So it took many, many months for them to collect the stone and to build the stone walls. And then they left a sort of recess or a notch along the perimeter of this dome where the corbel actually ties in and the thrust from this dome is transferred to the wall. The dome itself was made with bricks. Once they had made the bricks, which they could make on site easily with the kiln that they had and the clay, it probably only took maybe a month or two to actually build this dome. They were able to, we think, to build it without any shoring from underneath or very limited shoring, maybe some wood posts or what have you. But I think the corbel was self-sustaining. They took the corbel out about 4 feet as far as they could, and then they constructed the dome, and they worked from the outside, and they created a ring, an oval ring, and each of the bricks is pushing against the next brick, and so by the time you come around to the last brick and mortar that brick in, it's a compression element and it's self-supporting. So they work from the outside in and filled in each of these rings that you can see the pattern very plainly from the top. And when they got to the center, then they went back to a stone fill with a keystone, and everything is pushing outward. The uniqueness of this particular roof form is, I think, that it's a composite design. The corbeling is a known structural method that was used in Greek and Roman times. And then the dome, being in an elliptical shape, was trying to take advantage and tie to the rectangular shape of this room and spanning from the corners outward. The uniqueness is the combination that forms this lantern-type shape from both the inside and outside, and we are not aware of any other such form in the world. So we're standing on a very, very unique structural element. Without the efforts that we're making, there's no question that this room and this dome that I'm standing on is in dire jeopardy. We've been working on this project since 1987, and this is really the last phase, and we intentionally saved this particular component for the end because we knew it was going to be the most difficult. And we've learned how to drill in the rock, how to tie the rocks together, how to do many, many things that are unique to this particular project. And what we'll be doing is actually mortaring this together, repointing the top and filling the cracks, and then using a suspension system with a series of steel trusses to actually support this whole dome that I'm standing on with these pins that will go into these bricks at about 10 inches on center. So what you see will remain, and we'll freeze it in time, put a protective cover over the whole thing when we're done, and be able to actually get inside through a man porthole that will be able to go in and, if we need to, adjust the tension on the hangers. If bricks become loose, we can add additional pins or whatever we need to do. So it's something that can be sustained and maintained over time.
This is really a very unique monument here, a monument to history, to all of those who worked on this so long ago, the Native Americans, the early settlers here, to the Landmarks Club in the late 1800s, and certainly it's a tribute to all of those who worked on it for the past 14 years. It's taken a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, and we've had to do a lot of guesswork here because we haven't had plans from which we could work. So there's been a lot of creativity here in terms of the engineering and the architectural adaptations that we've had to do to make this thing stand and be stabilized. So this is important because it's something that we want to preserve for the future, for future generations.
One of the things we've tried to do here is conserve this mission for future generations to see. The mission pattern of growth here and development of California is why we're here. It's how this whole area was settled. And it's very important to preserve it. And preservation of resources like this, I think, is a very, very important thing to achieve. And you have to realize that these are resources that once they're gone, they're not coming back.
Mm-hmm. This is, you can see, really a unique place. It's the American Acropolis. It's rightly named. It's a piece of history that we absolutely have to preserve for future generations.
For more information on preserving the Great Stone Church, visit our website at www.missionsjc.com or call 949-234-1312.